Hi there, I thought I would show you today how to do vibrato. Now, I love wrist vibrato, and I know so many people have a lot of different opinions on different kinds of vibratos. I love wrist vibrato. It's the one that I actually didn't begin learning by wrist vibrato, but it's my favorite that I have learned since, and so now I teach it to all my students, and it's my favorite, and I actually think it's pretty easy to learn. It's vibrato though. So vibrato is never going to be I've learned it and I have it tomorrow type of situation. It's always going to take at least, I usually see it take a few months to get really, really good at it. To get your basic vibrato down, I would give yourself a good month to learn it. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through the process of how to learn vibrato, but just know to give yourself plenty of grace and plenty of time to actually learn vibrato. It's not gonna happen by watching this video as you're playing. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I got it. Hey, if you do, let me know. But usually it's going to take a little bit longer. So I have 8 steps. And while that sounds daunting because it's 8 steps, I'm gonna show you and break it down and show you why and how and what we're gonna do. So the first thing, you don't need your bow, put your bow down. We're just gonna start with your violin. Now, the first thing, before we even start our 8 steps, if your nails are long, you need to cut them. Your nails should be no longer than your fingertips because you need your fingertips to be touching the violin to do this vibrato. Now, the next thing is you also need a shoulder rest. If you're not having, if you are playing without a shoulder rest, it's gonna be really, really tough to learn vibrato because you're gonna notice your violin is shaking and maybe your bow is shaking and all the things. So make sure your fingernails are nice and short and make sure you actually have a shoulder rest. I also wanna say, just before I start teaching this, a few things to make sure that you can do before you learn vibrato is you wanna be able to play a basic G major scale, which goes like this. So make sure you can play at least a basic G major scale and make sure you can play that with a nice smooth bow, and also make sure your posture is really good. So those are just a few things to think about before you start playing, before you start learning vibrato. If you're a beginner in violin, focus on getting all those things really, really solid before you learn vibrato. I know it's something that everybody wants to just jump into and like start doing it immediately, but just know, make sure you have those foundations down really good, because if you try and start adding vibrato to that, first of all, that's where it's not going to work. Like you're going to be like, I don't even know, why is this not working? That's because your basics are not at a solid point for you to learn vibrato. Another thing is ask your teacher if you're ready to learn. Ask your teacher to teach you vibrato. They're probably going to teach it to you completely different than I teach it, and that's totally fine. And they might decide to teach you arm vibrato instead of wrist vibrato or something. Like it doesn't matter. There is so many options that there is not like one way that every single violinist teaches it, plays it, does it, all the things. Vibrato is as unique as every single person doing it, because vibrato is something that you as a person figure out how to do. So, gosh, so many disclaimers. Goodness, let's get into it. So first step, again, put your bow down. Put your bow down. Ouch. Jeez Louise, I just pulled my hair out. Okay, step 1 is you're going to do the wave. And how you do that is you're going to glue, this is fake glue. Glue your hand right here. Do you see these little lines and creases that you have? Glue those lines right there on the bottom ridge of your violin. Right there like that. And now you're going to wave. Just wave it yourself nice and easy with that hand glued there. Perfect. We're just getting your wrist used to this movement. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to put your thumb behind the violin, keeping your wrist glued. And now you're going to do that same wave. Just getting your hand, your wrist loose, getting it used to this movement that's going to be happening. And that's the only goal for this, okay? Really easy. You can wave faster if you want to. You can wave slower. Doesn't really matter. Okay, third step. This is one of my favorites. I love ski slopes. So how we do ski slopes, again, your wrist is glued. Now there's a little bit of flexibility in this wrist gluing for this beginning part, because I like to make this movement really big. Like we're on big, huge ski slopes. So have your violin just slightly angled up, just slightly, not crazy. slightly. And you're gonna bring your hands all the way to the top. Do you see how my fingers are almost all the way to the end of the black? Bring them all the way up and they're nice and flat. And your wrist is curved like this. I know it looks weird, but trust me, it's fine. And then you're gonna bring your hand all the way back. Now my wrist is glued. So do you see how my hand is back like this with my glued wrist? And bring it back up and bring it down. My wrist is glued. Hand up and down and up and down. These are just huge ski slopes. Again, we're kind of getting our hand used to the violin, moving around the violin, being loose, all those things. Now, step 4, we're gonna go a little bit smaller and a little bit faster. I'm holding my violin. If you need to do that, you can. Another thing you can do is you can press it up against a wall, and that kind of just helps to hold your violin in place. So moving it faster, moving it smaller. My wrist is glued. You can see that right there. We're just moving it faster, smaller. Go a little faster too. A little faster. Good. Now when you're at this point, I want you to switch. Now step 5 is switching to one singular finger. I think my second finger is the easiest finger to learn the vibrato on, and I always do it on the A string. So putting that second finger, now he's lightly touching. All these ski slopes are very, very lightly touching. We're not pressing down on the string. They're skiing on top of the violin. So that second finger is skiing on top of the A string, and he's gonna go really small little movements. This wrist movement right here, he's skiing up and down, up and down, up and down. This movement for your wrist is exactly the wrist movement we want for wrist vibrato. This is beautiful. So my hand is not moving. The movement comes straight from my wrist. That's it. Okay, so now everything we've been doing, we've been trying to just loosen up the hand, get the wrist ready to learn vibrato. So the next thing that we're gonna do is now we're gonna jump into a new portion of this. So this is step 6. And this is a lot more close to the vibrato that we're going to be doing. So this is called, donut spaghetti. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your second finger down, and I usually place it, if you know third position, I usually place this in third position. We will be playing this in third position. If you've not learned it yet, it's absolutely not necessary to know third position before you learn vibrato. It's helpful, but it's not necessary at all. Okay, so place it in third position, and usually it's kind of just below the ridge of your violin here, where that meets there, just below it, okay? And we're gonna keep that wrist glued. Now, something I hear a lot is that, oh, my teacher doesn't want me to have my wrist in like that or anything like that, right? Now, this is different because we're actually in third position, where this is actually the correct position, having your wrist almost touching the violin. We've modified it because we are touching the violin, but do not worry about your wrist touching the violin. Don't worry about getting collapsitis or carpal tunnel. It's not going to cause that. Don't worry, okay? So, all that being said, start here, and you have this beautiful donut. So your finger is up as high as it can be. He has all the knuckles, and this flat part of your finger is what's facing the sky. Very important. So if your finger's like this and your knuckle right here is the highest part facing the sky, your finger's too high, bring him down. You want that flat part to be the top part. Okay? And now he's going to go from this donut into spaghetti. And when he goes into spaghetti, what's going to happen is you're going to release this knuckle here, and your hand goes flat. Like that. That finger is completely straight against the violin. Your wrist comes back at the same time. So this is also, remember, this is a wrist vibrato. It's not just a finger by itself. This is the wrist vibrato. The wrist goes back, and then it comes up, and I want you to push from here. Push the hand up. So now my hand has come up. And now he's going to go back again, and the wrist falls and the hand falls. And it goes back up, and the hand falls. This should be very natural. I want you to think about the falling motion as really light and easy, and it falls back, and it comes up, and it falls back, and it comes up. And that's how you do it. And you can do it a little bit faster. I have these fingers curved under. Don't have these fingers curved under. I'm curving them to show you, but you want your whole entire hand to be nice and loose. So when it falls back, and it comes up, and it falls back, and it comes up. And do that a few times, practicing that noodle bagel. When he's standing up, he needs to be actually pressing the string. When he falls back, if he releases the string, that's fine. So bring him up, he presses, bring him down, he releases. Up, press, down, release. Very, very soft, very, very gentle movement. Now, you can speed it up a tiny bit if you want to. That's fine. Yep. Okay. Step 7 is we're going to play our donut spaghetti. So grab your bow and very, very slowly, we're going to do one up movement and one down movement in one bow. So it's going to sound like this. Back up and release. And up and release. And up and release. Now, it doesn't have to be any specific note. It's okay if it's completely out of tune. We're not worrying about that right now. It does not matter. The important thing is that you have your note and you have the lower pitch. And you have your note and you have the lower pitch. A few things I see a few times just to help you troubleshoot a bit if you're wondering if you're doing it correctly. If you find yourself and the finger is the only thing moving, you see on my hand isn't moving. It's just kind of the finger doing this motion by himself. That's not correct. You want the whole entire hand to be moving back and the whole entire hand to be moving up. So it's a whole hand movement. Okay. If it's feeling tense, it needs to be loose. Vibrato is a very loose movement. It's not a tense movement. If you feel your jaw tightening up as you play, if you're like, oh, I'm so tense, release, relax. It's a very relaxed movement as you play. Okay, so almost done here. So then after that, step 8 is to speed it up. Now this is the part that's going to take a little bit. Start slowly. Start with just one movement in a bow. And that's it. And then go to 2. Maybe try 3. Then try 4. Then try 6. I have no idea how many that was. I wasn't counting. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you always want to count the upstroke because the upstroke is the correct note. So after that happens, after you're able to speed it up, then go ahead and try and take your wrist off the violin, but keeping it loose like that. So my wrist is still staying still, but it's just not glued to the violin anymore. Take your wrist off and see if you can do that movement. Again, you might still be going slow, and that's fine. But see if you can start to speed it up, loosen it, and let your hand go. So that's how you do vibrato. Again, it's not going to be something that you're going to get tomorrow and it's going to be perfect. So give yourself some grace, give yourself a good month to learn vibrato, and ask your teacher and make sure you're talking to your teacher about how you're doing it, if it looks good. And if they're teaching you a different way than I am, go with their way. That's the best thing to do. Always trust your teacher. Okay, well, I hope you have a good one and I'll see you later. Bye.